I did come upon your distress and his guilt. I did see the very crime in his face.
Yes.
The fault is not with you.
My marriage shall not suffer for it.
Of course not. I am your wife, and you have been ill-used.
Will, I have a case.
It is a hideous thing to be accused of.
Utter corruption. Imported by our spindle-shank gentry from Italy, I believe.
Thank you for the potted history, Mr. Sweetheart.
Would you care for some gin? The jailer can supply nothing better. Some comforts here, but I assure you I am not comfortable. I have a reputation in society that I do value. It will be entirely done away with if this accusation prevails. David Jasker, a mere acquaintance. A tradesman I do patronize with my business, the man who mends my shoes, for God's sake. And now my accuser, the harbinger of my disgrace, my death! Give my agitation. I do apologize.
Apology is not necessary. It becomes a man who has been wronged.
You do see that?
The cobbler, David Jasker. You have known him long?
6 months or so. Simply by virtue of the fact that I did initially frequent his shop.
Initially, you mean that the acquaintance progressed from that?
What I suppose is that we did converse politely in the way a tradesman would address a customer and vice versa, and as my custom became more regular, I became more familiar with him. And his wife.
And what did you speak of?
The weather. Whatever scandal graced the newspapers that day. The state of their business. Somewhat parlous.
I mean, I do wonder why Jasker, as your cobbler, and mindful of your status, is so candid with you. Would confide such information to you, however many pairs of shoes you may bring to his attention.
I cannot say. Merely that he did so.
And why do you think he has accused you?
I wish I knew.
And tell us of the last encounter between you.
A silver buckle had detached from my shoe. Isabella sent me downstairs to the workshop. He told me that he was unable to fix my shoe immediately. He was altogether in a state of some agitation.
And you did comfort him?
I demanded he venture an explanation for his rudeness.
Which he did provide.
Creditors were daily at his door, the shop in danger of being lost. He then began to cry. I was discomfited, embarrassed by such a display, and thought to put a hand on his shoulder by way of consolation. I think you'll agree that a hand on another man's shoulder is anatomically and by degrees some distance from sodomy.
Following this,
His wife comes upon the scene of this iniquity. I leave abruptly, his distress best tended to by his wife, an intimacy in which I should not intrude and had no wish to. Sometime later, I find the runners at my door.
I am not convinced.
you think him guilty? He is your client.
I say, I am not convinced. I find, in matters of sodomy, it is safest not to embrace a client's innocence, but better to hold a view at arm's length, as it were.
Well, there is no smoke without fire.
You think him innocent?
Yes, and I also think him a liar. Jasker accuses you of an unnatural crime against him. You tell me you do not know why he does so, yet I think you lie. If I'm to be your counsel, I must hear the truth from you.
You doubt me, sir?
I doubt not your innocence, but your experience of Jasker. You are unmarried.
I am.
And live alone.
Yes, again.
And therefore vulnerable to this particular sort of blackmail. Have you given money to David Jasker?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Several times.
Why?
His business was in need of some support.
When I ask you why, I think you do me the honor of a more truthful reply.
It is as you say.
Blackmail.
If I did not pay, he would take me before a magistrate and accuse me of attempting to commit a bestial act.
Now we have it.
Yes.
And now we have our defense.
I did refuse his last request.
Of course, and this goes better than mere defense. This will serve to see him indicted in turn.
Jaska to be put in the dock?
It's not merely blackmail, but robbery.
But is my denial not enough? My word as a...
As a gentleman, no, it is not.
If Mr. Garrow can establish the parlous state of the business and expose his threats in court, you would not be happy with that?
Maria. Mr. Garrow, Mr. Sudhouse, my beloved fiancée, Maria Reader.
Mr. Garrow, you will stop this calumny. This assault on his reputation.
We've just made some great progress here. There is a defense now.
I have owned to the blackmail begun against me by Jaska.
Good. Robert should not forgo his life for the sake of his embarrassment.
And I think his defense altogether strengthened by his association with you. You would speak on his behalf.
I would insist on it.
And I would not wish to appear indelicate, but in court I would need you to attest to the normality of his appetite.
I make no complaint in such matters.
We have some difficulty.
In that we are in possession of some evidence about you that, if you should choose to be truthful, means that we cannot defend you.
And similarly, if you do not choose to be truthful, then we cannot trust you.
I see.
A way out of this difficulty is that rather than discuss the particularities of this case, I will put a hypothetical one to you.
By all means.
Let's suppose a situation where a man is of the sodomitical tendency.
Why would we do that?
Let us suppose such a thing, for the purpose of argument.
Very well.
Let's suppose that this man is of some little wealth, finds another man of the same tendency. They form an attachment. An utterly consensual relationship, and with it a friendship. One where money is lent freely. We have, I think, already been somewhat down the road of that scenario.
Continue.
They meet regularly. They are aware that the law would treat both of them harshly should they be found out. They risk their lives.
And discovery.
Which comes to pass.
They fear for their exposure, which will mean their lives.
And one of the men betrays the other. He claims he was most grievously assaulted against his will.
Such a situation could turn friends into enemies, desperate only to save their own lives. I imagine.
In this scenario, the man cannot even tell his own lawyer what has happened for fear of incriminating himself.
Terrible situation for all concerned. But one where there has been no coercion, where there is no victim, where, without law, there would be love.
And this unlawful love exposed by the contemplation of a wife.
And a husband unable to confess to the nature of that love, instead confesses to its opposite.
A sad hypothesis.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sodomy was committed. Love or not, we cannot defend.
There has been no admission.
Oh, come, Garrow. It is evident.
A man loves another. Any other whom society says he may not, and he must be pilloried for it. Why should I not defend against that?
Oh, you will defend the cause of love, will you? It seems to me that Jaska was quick to disavow that sentiment for the sake of his own neck.
Well, then I shall depend upon the hope that he has not.
My God, you will be a romantic at the Old Bailey. Heaven help us all.
I'm unable to speak, Mr. Garrow. Why are you still awake?
You must speak plain to me of the relationship between yourself and David Jasker.
There is some change here. Earlier you gave advice that such a conversation was impossible.
In my legal defense of you, yes. But not as one man to another. And then tomorrow I may do my duty better as your barrister. You will not speak plainly to me.
I have spent my life hiding from plain view.
Then, Captain Jones, I will be plain with you. In my life, I am in some difficulty. Ruinous accusations have been made against me. Perhaps not so ruinous as the prospect of losing my life, but it may not be worth living if it goes against me. The accusations are false, they're a lie. I am charged with committing adultery with another man's wife. I have not. But I have yearned to. Do yearn to still.
Your secret torments you.
I would dearly love to own it, and for the owning of it to be of no account.
I have took my chances at Lincoln's Inn bog houses. Been married in molly houses. Paraded in St. James's Park and Birdcage Walk. Every excursion in the dark. Out of sight. But David is someone to be loved in the busiest coffee house. Hands held.
Why so?
His wife thinks him weak. But he's merely gentle. He's quiet, but all the time attentive. And in the heat of his work will blow upwards at his forehead, so it does lift the locks of his hair.
There are some who would hang you for your sentiments alone.
Isabella.
You must find a way to have everybody's true sentiments out in court in a way that will save you.
Do I disgust you?
I see women burned and innocent men hanged. Then I am in the grip of that emotion.